My wife thought she destroyed me in divorce court until I dropped to one knee and turned the entire courtroom upside down. I'm on one knee on the chilly floor of a courtroom, the world collapsing into a single moment. Elinor Strathmore, the attorney who spent 2 years methodically and masterfully unraveling my existence on behalf of my wife. My own counsel is choking out a noise, like a wounded bird. The judge pounds his gavel with the desperate force of someone trying to anchor a tempest. My soon-to-be ex-wife, Claudia, emits a sound of raw, searing fury that feels barely human. This was meant to be the darkest day of my life, the final chord in a symphony of my public demise. But in a flash of sheer lunacy, I've seized control of the entire performance. Before I reveal how this one audacious act of rebellion altered everything, share your city below and tap that like and subscribe if you've ever had to unearth your own truth in a sea of deception. 2 bailiffs yank me to my feet, their grips firm on my arms, but my gaze is locked on Elinor. Her face is a pale, stunned veil of professional calm, but that veil is fracturing. In her usually impenetrable blue eyes, I see a whirlwind of bewilderment, disbelief, and something else. A sharp, unsettling glint of curiosity. She isn't repulsed, she's astonished. That's all I need to know. As they haul me out of the courtroom, the last sound I hear is Claudia's howl, aimed not at me but at her own lawyer. It's the cry of a champion whose prize was snatched at the final moment. The heavy doors slam shut, dulling the chaos within. They deposit me on a bench in the resonant marble corridor, and I sit, my body buzzing with a fierce, terrifying rush. I should feel foolish. I should be drowning in a flood of shame. Instead, I feel unburdened. For the first time in 10 years, I've done something unscripted, untainted, unafraid of Claudia's reaction. It was a singular, unfiltered, genuine act, and it felt more real than the last decade of my life combined. The doors swing open 20 minutes later. It's Claudia. Her face is splotchy, her eyes puffy with rage. She stalks toward me, a hunter whose prey has been stolen. "You utter coward," she hisses, her voice a low, toxic snarl. "You couldn't just accept defeat quietly. You had to turn this into a spectacle. You had to ruin my moment." I meet her gaze, and the steadiness in my own voice surprises me. "This wasn't about you, Claudia. For the first time in a long time, this had nothing to do with you." Her face twists. "Nothing to do with me? You drop to your knees and propose to my lawyer in front of a judge. Do you think she's some kind of saint? She's a tool, Marcus. A tool I hired and paid to dismantle you, and she did her job." I stand, and for the first time, I feel larger than her, not in height, but in resolve. "That's where you're mistaken. She won the case, she didn't dismantle me. You've been trying to do that for years. The difference is she used reason and evidence. You only ever used venom. The word lingers between us, a blunt and final truth. Our entire marriage was built on her rules. My reserved nature was a defect to be corrected. My satisfaction was a lack of drive. My devotion was only valid when it fit her story. When I started to resist, to think for myself, I became a failed experiment, then an enemy to be crushed. Her anger now isn't about lost love. It's the helpless fury of a puppet master whose marionette just cut its strings and set the stage ablaze. She glares at me, for once without words, before spinning on her heel and storming down the hall, her sharp, furious footsteps echoing long after she's gone. I return to the small, barren apartment that has been my holding cell for the end of my life. I expect a call from an irate lawyer, threats of a restraining order, perhaps a lawsuit. The phone buzzes late that night, displaying a blocked number. My heart skips. I answer. "Hello." A voice, sharp and familiar but stripped of its courtroom polish, speaks. "Mr. Hayden, this is Elinor Strathmore." My breath hitches. "I trust you recognize the unusual nature of this call." I let out a wry chuckle. Unusual seems to be today's theme. "I assume you're calling to inform me you're having my mental state formally assessed." "No," she says, and the pause that follows is thick with unspoken thoughts. "I'm calling, as a matter of professional responsibility, to understand the intent behind the display I was part of today. Was it a legal maneuver? A desperate attempt to claim instability and challenge the ruling?" It's a formal question, one her firm and ethics board would expect her to ask. But beneath it, I hear the real question. Are you unhinged, or was that genuine? "It wasn't a maneuver," I say quietly. "I'm not unstable. It was just the raw truth, spoken at the worst possible time." Another long silence stretches between us. So long I can almost hear the gears of her sharp mind turning, evaluating risks, weighing options. "For 2 years, Mr. Hayden," she begins again, her voice carefully controlled. "I've been privy to the most private and often unflattering details of your life. I've read your messages. I've reviewed your bank records. I've heard your testimony. I built a case against you based on a wealth of evidence provided by my client. I know, I say, and you did it masterfully. What I also did," she continues, ignoring my comment, "was watch. I watched a man who, despite a relentless and often cruel assault, never resorted to outright deception. You didn't invent evidence. You didn't defame Miss Thornton for effect. You answered questions honestly, even when it weakened your case. In a field full of theatrics, you were stubbornly truthful. My throat tightens. She saw it. She saw the one thing I clung to. So I ask you again, Mr. Hayden, why?" I take a deep breath. "Because for 2 years, the only moments of clarity and honor in this entire ugly ordeal were when you were speaking. Claudia built her case on emotional manipulation, on distorting memories until they were unrecognizable. You built yours on the law. You were precise. You were principled. You were just, even when you were winning. In all that chaos, you were the only thing that made sense. I didn't fall for a lawyer. I fell for a mind, for a character. The silence now is different, less calculated, more human. I can hear her breathing, a soft, uneven rhythm. The professional consequences of what you did today are immeasurable," she says, her voice tight. "Claudia is already telling anyone who will listen that we were involved, that I deliberately mishandled certain motions to prolong the case and profit while enticing you. My reputation, my career, is at serious risk because of your action. Guilt strikes me like a physical blow. I know I whisper, and I am so sorry for that. It was selfish. I never meant to hurt you. I know," she says, and for the first time there's a warmth in her voice, a glimpse of the person behind the attorney. "That's the only reason I'm having this conversation. If I thought for a moment it was malicious, I'd be filing for a protective order. But it wasn't, it was just madness. Yes, I agree, it was. I must go," she says abruptly. "Goodbye, Mr. Hayden." The line goes silent. The quiet she leaves behind is vast and hollow. The weeks that follow are a silent torment. As Alina predicted, Claudia is on a rampage, trying to poison public and professional opinion. I imagine Alina navigating a minefield I created. I keep my distance. I give her the silence she needs. A month after the courtroom, a package arrives at my door via an anonymous courier. It's a small, hardcover book, a collection of essays on urban planning, a niche passion of mine mentioned during a grueling deposition about my failed career choices. There's no note, no card, nothing, just the book. It's a message in a bottle, a subtle acknowledgement, a question. My hands tremble as I pick up my phone. I don't call her. I call the reservation line of a small, independent restaurant she once mentioned in passing during a settlement talk. I book a table for one for the next evening at 8 p.m. under my name. It's a long shot, a signal sent into the void. The next night I sit at the table, a glass of water untouched before me. Every time the door opens, my heart lurches. It's 8:15, 8:30, she's not coming. Of course she's not coming. It was a professional courtesy, a thank you for not being as vile as her client. I'm an idiot. I signal the waiter for the bill. As I reach for my wallet, the door opens again. It's her. She's not in a stark suit. She's in a simple navy dress, her hair loose. She looks different, softer, yet more commanding than ever. She scans the room, her eyes meeting mine. For a moment she pauses, a shadow of uncertainty crossing her face. Then she walks to my table and sits. "You should know," she says, her voice quiet, her gaze fixed on mine. "I've been in near-daily meetings with my firm's ethics board. I've been strongly advised that being seen with you, let alone dining with you, could trigger a formal inquiry that might lead to my suspension." "I understand," I say, my voice barely audible. And yet she continues, a small, defiant spark igniting in her eyes. "I've also decided that letting my personal life be dictated by the potential slander of a vengeful person is its own kind of prison. I spent 2 years listening to her narrative. I won't spend the rest of my career living in fear of it." She leans forward slightly, the world narrowing to the space between us. "This is, without question, the most reckless and ill-advised decision of my professional life, Marcus." "I'm sure it is," I say, a slow, incredulous smile breaking across my face for the first time in years. "So," she says, a faint smile finally touching her lips. "Where do we begin?" It's not an answer to the question I shouted in a courtroom. It's the answer to a question I didn't even know how to ask. It's the start of everything. If this story caught your interest, tap the like button, subscribe for more content, and press the bell icon to get notified about our upcoming tailies. Catch you next time.